It is time to let go of beliefs that have served you well, but now keep you from moving along your sacred path. The process of letting go is easily understood if you can picture life as giving exams. Just as we are required to pass exams throughout our school experience, so too are we required to pass exams in the larger school called life. If we pass them, we move on to the next level, and then take the exam for that level throughout our stay in now here. If we don't pass, we repeat the course and continue at that level until we get the lesson. Many years, even an entire lifetime, might be consumed repeating a lesson in order to pass a spiritual examination. We might find ourselves repeating the same behaviors tirelessly and depressingly, over and over, without getting the lesson that life is trying to teach us. You may find yourself going from one bad relationship to another, even seeking the same person each time, only in a different body. Repeatedly, you might find yourself being dominated, unappreciated, or taken for granted by an inconsiderate partner. Perhaps you continue in an occupation repeating the behaviors of previously unsatisfying job experiences. You could continually latch onto the same kinds of germs and repeat debilitating disease patterns. People who successfully put themselves onto the spiritual path are living the life they love and feeling productive because they realize that life patterns are trying to tell them something. They understand that those situations are the exams. The same responses, the same answers as they've always been given previously, will not get different results. The decision is made to pass this exam in this area at this time by responding differently. To move on to the next level in this curriculum called life, you have to pass the exams along the way. Having a personal history keeps us from now. This is a radical idea, perhaps, but I am asking you to consider the possibility of totally eradicating your personal history from your consciousness and simply living completely in the present moment. The first thing that might pop into your mind, as it did into mine when I began to consider this possibility, is that it is impossible. I do have a memory, and it would be folly for me to pretend that I am not the product of my past. What I'm asking you to develop is a forgettery to go along with your memory. The point is that as a result of being a product of your past, you are dancing to a tune thrown at you by others. In order to take the steps upward towards your sacred quest, you must toss out the idea that you are unable to take those steps in the first place. Let go of all the beliefs that convince you of your inadequacies and shortcomings. Clean out that closet of worn-out loyalties to what you can and cannot do. Just open yourself up right in this moment. Be like a clear, blank slate. Nothing is imprinted or projected onto this slate. It begins with no. It ends with now. There is no guilt about erasing your personal history. There is great love and respect for all that you have learned up until now, but now is blank and, most important, open to all possibilities. No restrictions, no limitations, only the willingness to experience God and the entire divinity of the universe within yourself. Your life is no longer to be constrained by what you've known as your personal history. Your individual soap opera has received its cancellation notice. In the instant that you drop that personal history, you become eternal. You always have been, you always will be. Finally, you are working on answering the question, who am I? Your answers no longer need be confined to the labels that defined your body and your life experience. Your personal history has attempted to convince you that you are one or several of the labels that you have been assigned. Ultimately, you adopted the labels as who and what you were. In the process of erasing your personal history, you need to remove all the artificial labels. Here are some of the things that you are not. You are not your name. The label that is your name originated in antiquity, usually based on the work of your ancestors. Your name was given to you to help distinguish your body from the other bodies around you, and to give others a word to use when they want to refer to you. But don't for a moment think that this is who you are. Indeed, it is who you are not. You are not your body. Notice how the previous sentence uses the phrase, your body. This implies that the body is something that you possess. You are the possessor of the body and the invisible force behind the body, but not the body itself. The body is nothing more than a conglomeration of raw material, including bones and gristle and blood and iron and calcium and skin. As you consult your personal history, you will find lots of trauma about the body's importance. Were you taught that your appearance said a lot about you? Most of us were taught to spend hours before mirrors worrying about posture, physique, skin, absence or presence of hair, weight, height, and on and on. But this is your false self at work. You own the body. You are not the body. You are not your mind. Just as we say your body, we also say your mind. This implies the owner of the mind. You think thoughts with your mind. Therefore, these are the thoughts, and there is the thinker of the thoughts. For most of your life, you've been taught that you are your mind. You've been training your intellect, attending classes ad infinitum, and identifying yourself somehow with what you know. As you leave your personal history behind, you will leave behind the notion that you are your mind. You are not your occupation. You are not engineer, nor teacher, nor secretary, nor shopkeeper. These are choices that the invisible divine you has made as your way of fulfilling your heroic mission while visiting the now here. The more your position becomes defined as who you are, the more difficult it is for you to know truth and freedom. The role identification itself can keep you away from your own true higher self, since the role of occupation is the dominant force in your life. Dropping your personal history involves shedding the notion that you are what you do. Remember this exercise in logic. If you are what you do, then when you don't, you aren't. Make every effort to remove these labels from yourself and know that you are not what you do, nor are you the doer. You are the one who watches the you who is doing. You are not your relationships. Certainly the love energy between you and all of those in your immediate circle is very significant, but it is not who you are. You are not your country, your race, or your religion. Discard these names, and you will identify with the realm of the spirit rather than the world of the ego. Then you are no longer willing to fight the fights of your ancestors who have tried to convince you whom to hate and whom to love. You will no longer participate in the tribal consciousness in which you perceive yourself to be better than another by virtue of your birthplace or skin color. Your personal history has trained you in the ways of your tribe. These are limitations that you do not need to have. Let go of that identification with the labels and choose a new perspective of unity consciousness. You are united with all souls. Their packaging or location is simply irrelevant.